Incoming transmission.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the round of 8 here in the GSL. Interesting day, interesting set of players that we've got here. No Zergs today.
Yeah, nothing but Terrans and Protoss, and we are playing on the new patch with a new map pool. And I can't even remember, we were talking about this before we went live today, how long it's been since the last time the GSL map pool updated mid-season. But 5 maps came out, 5 new maps are coming in. The patch, I think, is maybe like less than 48 hours
It's really new.
old.
It's like fresh out of the oven. This will probably be a little bit more of an exploratory cast to see what the changes, I guess I should say, how the changes have impacted, how the players are going to approach the game. It's also kind of a unique opportunity for us to see in a competition like GSL how quickly the players will adapt. In some cases, you'll see players who won't even do that much to change their play. Maybe they'll stick with some of their older strategies, but we could be in for some surprises today.
Yeah, I mean, the pro players have had the PTR, the public test realm, to practice on for a while now, but not all the changes made it through. And still, in a preparation tournament like the GSL, we talk about how this is a different format from something like a DreamHack or an IEM, where it happens in one weekend because you need to prepare for every single opponent. And especially now that we're doing GSL every Thursday, you have a ton of time to prepare for your match. I mean, Maru played in Group A, it feels like almost a month ago, or maybe even was a month ago, like 3 weeks at least. He's had a lot of time to iron out his build, to get ready, but now we have a new patch, we have new maps. Are you going to throw those strategies out the window? You're going to come in with something fresh out of the box?
I'm especially interested with the sentry change, and the fact that that does a lot of damage to shields. Obviously, this was to make the sentry a more viable unit, especially in the early game where you can create more strategies and openers. By the way, in a matchup where there are already a lot of different ways to open and play. But it does extra damage to shields now, so, they're very good against Archons, weirdly.
I saw a GIF of sentries going up against Archons. I don't know if it was, like, cost balance, but the sentries won, and I was like, this makes no sense to me.
It's really weird.
They have, like, +4, I think, damage versus shields, which is basically double. And they shoot pretty quick, so +4 on that gun is...
It reminds me of the Wings of Liberty beta, where the sentries were just actually really... I remember attacking a bunch of sentries with my Mutalisks, and they all died, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's how strong that unit is now. Then they changed
those days.
By the way, if you want to come down and see our... Oh, no, sorry. This is actually for the support thing. My bad. I thought this was a ticket graphic. Guys, we need your support. Go to Patreon or donate Star Balloons to help out the GSL. The finals is going to be in the same studio that we're in now, the regular GSL studio. Actually, excuse me, finals and semifinals.
Yeah.
So do come down to that. That'll be starting at 5 p.m. For some reference, if you're watching this in not a Korean time zone, we normally start at 6:30 p.m. So about an hour and a half earlier. We got a bunch of new maps that we're going to be exploring here with the new patch. So definitely a dramatic shift in pretty much everything here for the round of 8 in GSL.
Yeah, it should be fun. I was playing around with these maps earlier, and it doesn't seem like they're completely different. I know that in the new patch, there are new tools in the kit for map makers, including something like Zerg rocks, which degrade over time and eventually just open up on their own. You don't have to destroy them, even though they are destructible debris. Towers and destructible rock towers, I think, can now also destroy mineral lines. There are worker-only paths. There's going to be healing zones. None of that is really coming into play just yet in this new map pool, but I got to tell you, some of these maps, they're pretty crazy. At least one of them kind of felt like a 2v2 map when I was playing on it, where you have like a second base in your base and half the mineral fields are gold.
And let me tell you something.
It's crazy.
I might ruffle some feathers here, but I think we needed to get a little crazier with the maps. I think ASL started doing this a long time ago. Honestly, StarCraft 1 was doing this before StarCraft 2 ever came out. They had a lot of really kind of radical ideas. And look, some of these ideas, they might not be that great, and then we won't use that map again. But what if we unlock some new version of StarCraft 2 with some of these ideas that lets us enjoy the game more than we even did before?
One of the nice features of this map pool, too, is it is 9 maps. So when you're playing in something like a best of 3 in the GSL, if you're going through the group stages, it doesn't matter if 1 or 2 of the maps aren't good for your race in this specific matchup. You can ban those ones out. And even in the finals, you still have 1 map ban because it's going to be a best of 7. So there's a lot of strategy that's going to come down in the map drafting here as we take a look at the round of 8. Of course, Group A taking place today. Maru, Classic, ByuN, and Hero. Deep dive into TVP, which was the target matchup of the most recent patch, so it'll be interesting to see how this one develops. I think Maru definitely the favorite to advance from this group. He is looking so solid, and 10 GSL championship trophies.
So crazy.
I mean, Maru is doing the heavy lifting here.
You could say 10, but I mean, truly, it's Maru with the 7 that is insane. It's true that both ByuN, Hero, and Classic all did take 1. That's wild, man, how dominant Maru has been here.
Absolutely, man.
Especially as of late.
21st round of 8. Classic is 10, Hero is 10, ByuN is 8. He's been in almost as many round of 8s as these guys combined. It's pretty absurd.
It's pretty crazy. So, you know, TVP has been, in some respects, one of the shorter matchups, probably the shortest out of the non-mirror matchups that we have.
Oh, absolutely.
They did make some design changes with this matchup specifically in mind, so let's see if it actually gets longer or maybe even shorter, I don't know.
Yeah, the Cyclone power level has been shifted a little bit. It's not going to be as impactful in the early game as it was before because there is that delay between lock-ons. Widowmine also nerf. It's a little bit more microable. I even saw some people commenting on forums as Terran saying that in some situations it kind of feels like a buff because you can see the indicator, and if, say you're playing a TVZ, for instance, which we won't see today because it's all a TVP group, but you can kind of micro the Widowmine and easily see through the visuals what the sweet spot is going to be for the hit on a pack of Zerglings, for example. So I think it's a lot of fun. I like that change, being able to see exactly where the Widowmine is firing, a lot more easy, make it more readable, allow more micro on both sides. Should be some good fun. And Classic, he looked very strong in Group B, I must say. Both him and Stats busted out some wild PBZs. They were showcasing the mothership, I think, almost every single game that we saw in those ones. But PVT, it's a different matchup. Classic saying Terran doesn't need more nerfs, but perhaps Maru does, as that is a difficult opening match to go up against the GSL GOATs.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see what ideas Classic can bring here. Hero as well. You know, obviously Maru expected to get out of this group. You know, post-patch or pre-patch, he has just been the dominant force of the scene for now. But let's see, man. We do have these upsets that happen. This is going to be going into that best of 3 here. One where we want to see, with the changes from the patch, what is going to stand out, what's going to stay the same. I always welcome moments like this where we really get to like both watch some great players play against each other, but also have a fresh take on the game because of these changes and new maps.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Alcyone, Oceanborn, and Ghost River, the new map. Should we go to a map 3? Let's get it started. Maru versus Classic here in the round of 8.
Okay, in the bottom left, we've got Maru. Top right, we have Classic.
I'm so curious what the openings are going to be, if we will see any deviations here. Maru, of course, heavily favored here against Classic. 29 and 16 offline, 27 and 10 online, the head-to-head match score between these two fellas. But you know, another one of those changes that I think a lot of people might be sleeping on, and I'm not sure if we're going to see it showcased today, is the fact that the Sentry, not only was it changed in PvP with the bonus damage versus shields, but also it lost its light armor tag, which was the main reason it would lose to a unit such as a Reaper. Oh, waited 5 long years.
Welcome.
To come to Korea and see the GSL. Welcome.
Nice, from Canada.
Diamond player, first GSL.
Good thing I'm good at flags, man. My flag game is on point.
If you don't know the Canadian flag is an American, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you, Tasteless.
Yeah, I'm like, see that other one? That's the American flag. What do you got next?
But I'm curious to see if we will see anything like a Sentry first opening in these series, because the fact that the Sentry is going to be better at dealing with that opening Reaper, won't take any bonus damage. You know, getting that early hallucination scout, a lot of the things that Protoss players complain about in PvT, myself included, is that Terran really does have a wide range of builds and early harassment options they can throw at you. So early Sentry for hallucination might be a little bit stronger now given the change in the patch.
The worker range attack has been upgraded a little bit. This is something they seem to have taken from StarCraft 1. I think that's actually a good thing. I think there's been a lot of games where we see one worker trying to kill an SCV on a barracks in the middle of the map, and it just can't quite reach it.
I think it's actually been doubled from 0.1 to 0.2 range or something like that.
That's right.
It makes me wonder if we're going to see more Protoss players go for the instant scout in PvT, if that'll become more meta, because pro harassment already is very annoying in this matchup, you know? And actually, yeah, it's going to be a Sentry first here for Classic, so immediately going for it. I love this.
And so a lot of times when you get the Sentry, what this allows you to do is get the hallucinated Phoenix to scout. Let's see if it's going to be the plan this time around. We've got Adepts coming in here. The Nexus is going to finish up. The Command Center will finish at about the same time. It'll have to be relocated, so it's closer to the minerals. The probe blocked it earlier. Sorry, there are 2 probes waiting at the ramp?
I think he's fully saturated in the main
saturated.
mineral line, and he's just waiting to bring him down. But
I'm just not used to seeing probes and Sentries sit there idly at the ramp. I was like, wait a minute, am I seeing this right? Yeah. So there's that Phoenix that's going to come out. The Reaper can't jump up into the main because of the wall-in.
Orbital morphing here, the natural expansion is, looks like robotics facility actually going to be the tech of choice here for Classic. Another change that came through with the patches. I think it's either 3 or 4 seconds, or maybe like 3.5 seconds less build time on observers. And for a lot of players, especially at the top level, the amount of time that you're spending in your robotics facility training observers, training robotics units is critical. It's one of those structures that you dump pretty much every single chrono boost in once you're fully saturated.
Right.
And so the fact that you're shaving 3.5 seconds off of every single observer means you get your Immortals out faster, your Colossi out faster, all the better tech online, as we see a third command center, come down here for Maru, and Classic actually going right into the Stargate, following up that Robo. So no Twilight Council opening from him.
So the poke is going to come out here from the Terran. It's an early third command, Nexus here. And with this poke, I mean, you got to imagine Classic could be pretty vulnerable here. The Sentry's out. I don't know if it quite has the energy to use any spells here. The Reaper barely gets away. This control is insane here from Maru. What?
Oh, wow.
This is the greatest control I've ever seen.
Yeah, that Reaper just barely survived.
What?
Oh, this Stalker goes down, too. There's no shield battery here at the natural.
I can't believe how good Maru's control. This is wild.
I mean, the Cyclone's even packing less a punch because it doesn't have that same stutter step, but Maru just doesn't. It doesn't matter, man. He gets 5 probes. He gets a Sentry. He trades out the Reaper and a couple Marines.
That might have been the best control I've seen in the last couple seasons of GSL. Seriously, that was crazy how good that was.
Yeah, that was
There
insane
were so
value.
many things that were low on HP. It did not have to go that badly for Classic, but Maru just literally operating at 100%.
Yeah, that was
unbelievable.
Sick. Especially with the less microable Cyclone in the new patch, too, right? It just seemed like it didn't face him at all, as that Cyclone's going to get repaired back at home. Oracle now coming out here for Classic, not Phoenix straight away, so a bit of an interesting choice as the Robotics Bay goes down. A couple additional gateways as well. Was a little bit of a hiccup in the build, dealing with that early push coming out from Maru, but still the third base is up safely. His tech is fully coming online. And Maru, after that push, just happy to macro up at home. Double engineering bay going down, adding in a starport, additional barracks. I think we're about to enter maybe a couple of minutes of quiet here in this game.
Yeah, things are going to slow down a little bit. Now, let's keep in mind, Classic, he took a little bit of a beating back there, but it wasn't like his third base was denied. He's still developing normally. The Colossi is going to come out here. Thermal Lance has just started. So by the second Colossus coming out, he should have that done. And we're going to need to see Terran take that third base. The CC's floating over there. We're seeing the barracks explosion occur now. And the Forge coming down here for Classic tells me he's not going to do any kind of special attack right away on that third base. He's going to stay back and upgrade and tech up.
This Oracle is actually getting a lot done, Tasteless, way more than I expected. It's kind of an off-meta play to go for an Oracle in the matchup like this one, but he gets 7 SCVs in total. That is so much value out of this one Oracle.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of times if you don't see the Oracle early on, you just don't worry about Oracles at all. So if you get it later in the game, it can come in and actually kill a whole bunch of workers.
Oh,
okay.
Bit of lag here. Almost surprised.
Yeah,
neither of our pros went for a pause during that one.
Yeah. Maybe it was just on the observer's end. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be.
So, yeah, cool move with the Oracle. He'll probably go into the tag cycling where he's just going to start to make sure he always sees where the medevacs are.
We have a second Stargate and a fleet beacon going down right now for Classic. he might be going into carriers here. Off of 3 bases, this is some really tech-heavy play coming out from Classic. The scan comes through from Maru, and that looks about as normal as it gets right there at the third base. He sees double Colossus, a ton of gateway units. Maru is still not keyed in that Classic is going for this really high-tech switch.
Yeah, and this means Classic is just not going to be attacking for a long time. It's going to be a game where Maru is going to have to start to try to end the game. With Classic, you know, the longer the game goes on, the more the air tech inevitability is going to be real. Getting air weapons now, getting 2 Tempests.
And it's Tempest with +1 air weapons. I love this, actually, because the Oracle is still alive. It's gotten another 2 kills. Being able to pair that with Revelation means that Classic can pick off Vikings. If he gets, I think it's 5 Tempest with +1, I believe, should be able to one-shot a Viking.
I think that's right.
I might be wrong about that. It's been a while since I've made Tempest in PvT. But, yeah, this is a very cool play coming out from Classic, is now the Widowmine drop is coming in. No drilling claws, so even with an armory, if there is one done, these will not be
And by the way, you can see the new feature on the Widowmine. It's just a lot more clear where that's going, which I think is nice. Just kind of a quality of life improvement there.
I feel like it looks good, too. I mean, the Widowmine's, it's a scary shot, man. That thing can do a lot of damage. I feel like the laser looks appropriately scary now.
Yeah.
Before it was this feeble, meek little, like, it looked like a shoestring or something that was just stretched across the map, but no, I like it. This is an awesome style from Classic.
We've got more Tempests coming along here.
And carriers, too. His gateway army is basically non-existent. It's 4 Zealots, a Sentry, and a Stalker, I think. And the rest just Colossus, Tempest, and carriers. And this is as high-tech as it gets, besides, like, maybe a Mothership. Which, knowing Classic, seeing how he played in Group B earlier, the GSL, I wouldn't be surprised if he started to mix that in soon. Very cool. Very cool army composition we see him rolling with.
So we see him moving out. I don't think he's going to commit to anything here. And this has been a pretty macro-heavy game on both sides. I mean, Maru's now taking his 4th command center. He's floating that over. There's a 5th that's actually in production. We've got the carrier switch finally happening. Disruptors are coming into play. We're seeing all the building blocks of late game happening.
We have carriers number 3 and 4 coming in. Disruptors are entering the field very soon. Still only 1 robotics here for Classic. And this lone Oracle has 11 kills already. He's been getting scouting information. Just been pestering Maru, forcing missile turrets this entire time. It's gotten so much damage done. I mean, you think of the early push that Maru did to the third base of Classic that killed a couple gateway units. It killed a couple of probes. I feel like this one Oracle over the course of the past 5 minutes or so has done almost equivalent damage, which is kind of insane how effective Classic has been with this harassment, because nowadays, you know, post-military Classic, I think of him more as kind of a finesse player in terms of strategy and macro, as opposed to kind of the micro god that he used to be back in the Kespa days. But he has been really on point with his control so far ever since that little flub when he was taking the third base.
So we've got the Ghost now. Viking production started up. And 6 o'clock is now being occupied here for the Terran. Now, there's a lot more map to be expanded to here, but we are getting to the point in time where they should start to attack into each other. I don't know who's supposed to attack who here. Do you? I'm not sure when the game gets this far along.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Classic is going to be the faster one to max out, but
usually it's like there's one guy, you know, who's on the receiving end, the other guy's, you know, trying to push it and do damage. Seems like Maru's going to move out here.
I mean, both players have just been so focused on the macro. Maru's throwing down additional command centers, +3 infantry weapons will soon be completed. He's got 15 Vikings in total. He's making Vikings 6 at a time, by the way, which is just absurd. How many Vikings are in production? But with Revelation, if Classic can play this, or get some kiting done on those Vikings early, he does have some time before Maru is actually able to close the distance onto that third base. And you see Maru is actually going to try and creep forward a little bit here with the missile turrets. But the bio ball on the ground it's quite small. Here we go. Those Tempests going to take some shots. Instantly, one Viking goes down. EMP on the front line of the army here of Classic. That Oracle a little bit mismicroed. The carrier is going to fall, but overall, I think these trades not that bad here for Classic. Those Vikings are very weak.
Yeah, he does clip off a couple of those units there with those Viking shots. I don't know if Maru can advance in here or not. It's kind of hard to move into both Tempest and Disruptors.
I love this sensor tower, by the way.
Yeah.
Just right in the face.
This is kind of cool. And by the way, like, very fresh. Sensor tower, with a whole layer of turrets. And so he wants to basically get this hard contain and kind of launching pad for attack set up. This might force Classic out here. Disruptor shot, bit of a dud there. He does take out the gold base. Now, Maru's got his own gold base. So once you've filled in your triangular like sliver of the map, that's when the gold bases become pretty tempting. And so on some level, I almost feel like Maru doesn't have to do much other than occupy this spot. He's got plenty of SCVs, so he can make turrets and repair the Vikings. Now, Protoss does have shield batteries, but you know, there's more you could stretch out with SCVs repairing over time than, you know, shield batteries recharging. He's going to move in. This is a bit of a dive.
And Classic linking back here into the shield batteries. I feel like he really needs to rebuild that Oracle. Okay, one just popped, but Revelation right here with the Tempest, that is the combination that you need to start chipping away at the missile turrets, at the Vikings, because the Terran Sky Army is the really scary force right now. And you see Classic just wants to get rid of that sensor tower as quickly as he possibly can because it does limit his micro potential quite a bit here in the front line with those Tempests. 23 Vikings right now on the field, and let's not forget that Classic, he only has 3 Templar. There are only 2 Colossi on the board, so the ground army here for Classic, not very powerful. I think even the Disruptor count, it's only 1, not even 2 Disruptors, so controlling the Viking count is going to be critical here for Classic as he continues to micro back. The Oracle again gets taken out, so a little bit of sloppy control here from Classic at the front line is that, I mean, it is a bit tricky, you know, he's trying to blink these Stalkers back, he's trying to get picks with the Tempest, trying to cast Revelation.
You know, Protoss has grown into the bottom right. Classic's at least got that over there. Not as, I think, desirable as the gold base here. Income is really starting to stack, by the way, for Classic. He's got a lot, where Maru is still spending steadily, which means the Classic can remake any of these Stalkers or Templars that get killed off can be remade immediately. Obviously, making Carriers or Tempest takes a while, right? They make like their Terran units. They have to be built inside the structure instead of a warp-in.
That Storm is huge, by the way. Right now, Maru, I think, is sitting on only 3 medevacs, so the amount of healing that he has is not a lot. Any Storms or big Colossus shots that can connect with the Bio, I mean, you see now, the medevacs, they're already out of energy. The Bio's only about half HP. Classic just wants to continue to chip away at this, try and get some feedbacks off, some Storms here with the Templar. EMP comes through, so not able to get too much done. Tempest actually does fall here to the Viking. That Storm just to try and shoo Maru back into the center of the map. But Classic, that mineral bank is starting to get really big. I wouldn't mind seeing him throw down maybe 5 or 6 additional gateways and just do a big tech switch after the fight. Just instantly remax and move cross map.
Right. Nukes, of course.
Great way to eventually break this position.
This is probably a great way to kind of force an engagement here.
Oh, that Disruptor shot.
Oh, hold on.
Does get taken out.
Now
these trades have been so good for Maru.
Oh my God, they're literally one-shotting Carriers.
Wow.
I don't know when I've seen Carriers be one-shotted. I guess I'll have to tick that one off my caster bucket list.
Yeah.
He just shot down 4 or 5 Carriers like that. Now notice it suddenly, you know, Classic was banking a lot and just dropped as he had to remake a bunch. But this is basically the pressure point. Right outside here, he can keep attacking, and Maru's still growing. Maru has considerably more of the map.
And he's continuously repairing these Vikings as well. Classic needs to do a little bit of a better job with Revelation, just trying to pick away at this Viking count, because in a head-on engagement, it's kind of like Zerg fighting into Corruptors. If they don't have a lot of static defense, if they don't have Archons on the ground, the Vikings are eventually going to win. You have to be able to finesse them with the Tempest at range and do it well if you want to take a favorable trade here as Classic. And up until this point, he has been doing all right, but Maru is not making it easy for him. He has Liberators set up. He has all those turrets, plus double sensor tower. And from that staging ground in the center map, he's just trying to apply a little bit of pressure here on these side bases. I think he can even let Classic have that expansion on the right. If he can prevent Classic from taking the 2 top left expansions, then he's basically doing his job.
Yeah, this is all he has to do, is basically contain him. Psystorm, I thought that actually the Ghost, excuse me, it did not.
Oh, you see this, right,
Dude,
Classic?
he's got to get out. Yeah, you need to.
You see this, right,
what?
Classic? I was going to say, is this Solar in the booth right now? What's going on?
That's all he has to do is poke out those bases. He doesn't have to actually come in there and like destroy the main or the infrastructure. I mean, I do think it would help Maru if he was maybe hitting one other place at a time. But yeah, he could basically roost out here. Nice feedbacks there on the Ghosts. He's once again just going to be annihilating these Carriers. I've never really seen this many SCVs just roaming with the army, but it kind of works.
Well, usually you see Terran players kind of sack the SCVs and go to mules. Oh, those SCVs getting stormed, by the way. But you'll see Terran players just shed off the SCVs, maybe do a mild SCV pull in the late game, just to have more army supply. But with the SCVs in the front line like this, in this specific situation where they're building turrets and they're repairing Vikings, they basically are army supply. You know, that's how you repair all of the Vikings there in the front line. So it's a cool style to see here from Maru. Definitely something a little bit fresh coming in, as Classic hasn't been able to get very much value. And Maru again canceling these top left bases. Unless Classic can kind of break out of this position, I don't really see a path to victory unless Maru completely fumbles an engagement and Classic can get some big counter damage done with a Remax, because so far the cost efficiency has been pretty even, I want to say. Classic does have the better bank because, I mean, partly because Maru has all of these SCVs repairing in the middle of the map and building static defense, but eventually Classic will run out of money.
Yeah, that's right.
It almost feels like casting
a squeeze. Yeah,
doesn't it?
It does. I was just thinking that. I'm like, how funny. This is sizing up just like a ZVT here. Now, yeah, like we were saying, this is a squeeze. It's going to be a squeeze where the Protoss is still on 5 or 6 bases, but long term he will run out of money. Is this nuke going to connect? Where's the observer? Is there an observer?
I think it's gotten picked. Does he not see this one?
No
oh, the nuke!
way!
Okay,
yes!
It's gonna fall on everything. The Gateway Army gets evaporated. Maru stims forward.
My God.
Wow. What is with Maru and just getting nuke connection after nuke connection every year, man? I mean, that is just the end of this game.
Dude.
GG. So sick.
I can't believe it.
Outplayed.
We used to joke on GSL a long time ago about like esports fan fiction, where it's like, it's so over the top. I'm like, yeah, that never actually happens in a game. He nuked the entire army. All right, well, we're off to a good start.
That was fun.
I really enjoyed that whole game. I'm especially interested by like the sensor tower and turret outpost, if you could call it that. It was just
smart.
kind of just endless pressure, endless repair on those Vikings. It's funny, we were talking about how the Tempest should fare pretty well against the Vikings. It's like, well, what if they're all being repaired endlessly? What if you have your own shield battery and all that costs is money, only you have way more money because you have this position here?
Yeah, it was a cool style.
Oceanborn.
I was excited to see Classic bring out this high-tech early double Stargate. I think like even on 3 bases before he took the 4th. He threw down the second Stargate, the Fleet Beacon. But Maru just had the exact right answer on that map. Is you hold down the middle, you don't let them engage into you, and then you just do not let them expand on the side. And almost put like checkmate. I mean, he just out-controlled Classic. Classic couldn't get the chip damage that he needed with the Tempest. He couldn't get the Aurora Core Revelation. He kept bleeding them off. I mean, that was an exceptional TVP there from Maru, who looked kind of shaky in his TVZs to start the season. I was worried about him there in Group A. It was 2-1 versus Su. Was another pretty close series against Shin, who he usually beats. I was wondering about his form, but that opening game there against Classic was just so clean.
It's crazy, man. What a game. Will we have something similar, or will it be entirely different? A refreshing new take on the late game here from Maru. Yeah, man, I gotta say, I'm buzzing. I'm just buzzing after that nuke, man. What an ending. How crazy. It's funny, too. You know, when it comes to nukes, you know, I've done obviously a lot of live StarCraft events, and sometimes you'll, like when BlizzCon used to be a thing where StarCraft was at, you'd have a lot of people that would come over from WoW or Diablo, they'd watch the matches, and I would see the look on their faces when nukes would fire, and I'm thinking, and it's funny because everybody, you know, when you hear nuke, everybody's face lights up, they go, oh, they start making those O faces that YouTubers make in their thumbnails. they all do that, and I would always be thinking, well, do I hype this or do I just be honest? Because usually nukes are, nothing happens. A lot of times they're canceled. A lot of times they don't hit anything.
Yeah, the most they usually do is area denial, right?
Yeah,
or maybe they hit a base that gets evacuated.
They kill creep tumors or something. So I've always been conflicted on how to deal with that, because you see the audience hype up, and I don't want to be the guy that's like, hey, everybody relax. This is not a big deal. You think this is cool. It's not. That was like a nuke doing exactly what it was ideally supposed to do, wiping out an entire army.
Yeah, that was awesome. I like that TVP. That was really refreshing. And the funny thing about this, too, is that TVP is a matchup right now in terms of balance is probably a bit in the spotlight, because that was the focus of the patch that released, what, 2 days ago? And now we're in the TVP group here in the GSL, and so, you know, some Terrans are going to be bitter online, some Protoss players are going to be bitter, but you can't say anything about that game specifically, right? I mean, it ended with a nuke. Like, this is not... Balance is out of the equation here. That was just some cool play.
I don't know what's going on. It seems like there's some kind of delay. We've had, I don't know if it, I actually am not familiar with the guy that's on set. I don't know if it's
a sound issue.
Tech guy. Sorry,
it's a sound issue right now.
Oh, sound issue. Got it.
Yeah, Classic apparently right now is having some issues with his game sound or perhaps the white noise now.
So they'll get that adjusted. I think that was the tech guy, not the rep on stage. So we'll get that fixed in a minute here. We'll be back into this game. Some people don't know this, but for your guys' own, for your own information, they pump white noise into the player's booth. Right. So
it's loud too.
It's loud. The first time when we did Tase's LAN party and I played Scarlet back, that was my first time experiencing the white noise. And it was like, it's a little weird. It's weirder than I thought. It feels like you're on an airplane.
Exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, like that kind of sound blockage, and you really can't hear anything. No. You can't hear anything at all. I was impressed with how not deafening, it's just muting it is for the sound.
When I played in Pro League, it was deafening. It was actually very distracting. It was the kind of thing that I did it once, and I was like, maybe when I'm practicing, I should just get soundproof headsets and pump white noise when I'm playing the game, because it was... I felt like I was like in outer space or something, because it was like almost louder than the game sounds, and I was pumping the game sounds up.
Yeah. No, it's a weird experience, but definitely an effective way to prevent against, you know, players hearing the announcers or anything like that.
So the inner buds are what the players bring, and that has the sound for them, and then the noise canceling headsets have the white noise in them. But that's why we can play without boots in an arena like this one, or on the main stage of another event.
In the old days, they would build a box they would put the players in. I remember, and then the boxes came with their own issues because they get hot, or you know, players would. It might not.
Signs would fall on Gumiho.
Yeah, things would land on Gumiho's head. Sometimes they wouldn't like have the right room for the legs underneath them. It's a whole bunch, or you don't have that much room for your keyboard and mouse. So thank God we fixed this with you know, the white noise soundproofing. It's also better for camera shots. You don't have like a camera shot going through a screen of glass or whatever. Anyways, guys, we're going to Oceanborn. Let's do this. Okay, bottom right, Maru. Top left, Classic. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can play PvT. I don't know if we're going to have the same game as last time. I wouldn't mind casting a couple more of those, because I found that really interesting. Like, when I saw the turrets and the sensor towers go up, I'm kind of like, okay, but now what? Then it's like, oh, now it's nukes. Very cool. Good to have all of you here in the audience.
A lot of fans here.
Welcome. Oh, 13 years waiting to see GSL. You made it. From Australia, welcome.
I feel like we're one-upping each other now. Wasn't the first time like 10 years or something? Now it's 13.
No, it's 13, yeah.
Someone's going to be like, I was here back in the 90s waiting.
Someone's going to say 15 years ago, I'm going to go, GSL didn't exist back then.
I was a Broodword fan. I wanted to see Guillaume battle, and I couldn't make it out here until 2024.
And I wasn't born yet, so.
But I do wonder if we will see the same style from Classic, because now, if he does opt to go for it, if it's what he's practiced, I think it might work a little bit better here on Oceanborn. I mean, it's harder to take the bases on the sides, but also it's more difficult for Maru to set up a spot in the middle, because unlike Alcyone, you don't really just have this one central location that you can stage from that is also literally blocking a gold base, you know?
Yeah.
With a sensor tower, with a Zelnaga tower, with all these different paths that you can go out and try and deny other bases, so... We'll see if Classic does that or if we bring something new around Oceanborn. I always feel like this is one of the tougher maps to play in PvT, at least from my perspective when I'm laddering, because taking that fourth base can be so daunting against a player that is really good with dropship harassment. You really start to feel like you can kind of get pulled apart by medevac play. It's one of those What are those parts of a matchup where it feels like it can snowball very heavily if you don't keep everything under wraps?
Yeah, well, I mean, Terran just has more mobility at a moment where Protoss has to have a lot of bases at once, so it's a real balancing act.
It's going to be a Stargate opening here again for Classic, this time before the Robo, so perhaps we'll see the Oracle again. I think more likely we'll see him play a bit more Phoenix heavy than we saw in the previous game. Actually, did we see any Phoenix in the previous match? Was it just the Oracle straight into Tempest? I think it might have been. Really,
wait,
no Phoenix made, right?
No, there was not a Phoenix at all. But it was. I think he made the Stargate after the third base. I'd have to check again. I remember saying in the last cast that, like, you know, if you don't see the Oracle or Stargate right away, a lot of times you just don't think about it. And then he did that. He went in there. He got like 11 kills, I think, in that last game with the Oracle.
Oh, Reaper barely is able to spot.
Yep, gets in there. And so this is different. This is a Phoenix play. You can see the outline of the Phoenix there. I'm glad they put that in the game, by the way. I think it's good to have ways that sometimes you can tell what they're making, other times you can't. It just makes for kind of an interesting dynamic.
Maru a little bit late to send that follow-up SCV down to the natural expansion, by the way, after Classic picked it off with depth, so his command center going to be a little bit delayed. Robotics facility now coming down here for Classic. And this is looking quite similar to what we saw in the previous game, but it's not the same exact opening. It is Stargate into Robo as opposed to Robo into Stargate. The third base might even be a little bit delayed here for Classic, and he's playing very heavy on the Phoenix. Already 2 of them out, warping in Stalkers, and he's able to take a good fight at the natural expansion with his shield battery. He's able to get a lift in range of the shield battery on a Cyclone. I think this could be really good for him, but Maru is not one of those players that is likely to overextend. I think he's going to play this very safely, especially with a third command center in production back at home. And Classic actually caught a little bit off guard. Those 2 Phoenix are not home.
Yeah, let's not forget how well Maru did last time with his initial push. Let's see what he can do this time around.
It is so brave of Classic to actually come all the way cross map with these Phoenix, by the way, with
all
that Terran right in front of his natural.
Yeah, after he sees the after he sees the 2 Cyclones and the Marines and the medevac, he's staying back. Once the Immortal's out, you really can't do much with this. But I think the truth is that Maru probably isn't intending to do that much with this. Now, he could maybe poke out the Nexus. Yeah, he's going to force a cancel. Keep in mind the third command center, it's almost done. And so he's just going to have a third base up a little bit sooner. Now, again, wait. Is he going to get away? All right.
Coming again. Phoenix coming back. Will lift up that Widow Mine.
Big pickup there. He's going to have to probably just medevac boost away. I think the Cyclones could just outrun him. He doesn't actually have blink or anything, so he will get away. But most importantly, this third command center's done. SCVs and mules are mining from it. The Nexus has just started.
Yeah, Maru's push accomplished what it was designed to do, which is just delay the third base here for Classic while Maru macros up back at home. Now, we do have a second Raven coming in, as well as the Interference Matrix upgrade. So, paired up with at least 1 Siege Tank, 2 Cyclones, we might see Maru just try to levy a little bit of pressure here. I feel like with Interference Matrix, you're almost always gunning for some kind of timing attack as the Terran, but I do wonder what shape it will take if it has a timing attack, because right now we have double engineering bay coming in. Of course, there is that third command center very early here for Maru. So this is a period in the game where he isn't really going to be power spiking for at least a couple of minutes. And Classic with a pretty good read is just going to double expand basically even before the third is done.
I think this is a good move. It could be risky. I mean, it's possible Maru comes out and gets a kill. Actually, no, Maru just started Stim. For some reason, I thought Stim had already been researched. So I don't think that Maru can come and punish this. We've got the CC landing over there now.
That's a smart play here from Classic. I like this a lot, actually. It's how you bounce back after that third base getting delayed by 30 seconds or a minute from the Cyclone push.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's his third CCs. For some reason, I got totally tripped up and decided that was his fourth CC in my head. I was like, whoa, wait, what did that thing make? So we got more gateways coming down.
Yeah, gateways charge +1 and a second forge here for Classic. So I feel like we're playing a little bit more of a gateway style for Classic than we did in the previous game. And yeah, actually 5 gateways in total in production. He just threw a couple more down. We might see Classic gunning for a really big timing here with 1-1. I'm curious now how many gases he's going to take, because you might, as Classic, just sit on 4 gases like this, get out 1 or 2 more Colossus, spend the rest of the gas here on just upgrades, and have a huge flood of Zealots coming in.
Well, I mean, I think he wants a different approach, right? He doesn't want to sit back and try to attack into Stargates. I think he wants to try to do something a little bit more active and put Maru on his back foot. He's getting a Dark Shrine as well.
And Warp Prism speed.
Interesting. Well, he could just try to fly in the main, warp in a bunch of Zealots and unload stuff, and then try to crash into the third.
He's mixing it up quite a bit. I like what we're seeing from Classic here in the series.
Yeah, this is pretty cool, actually.
Interesting play there in game number 1. Coming here in game 2 with something, again, pretty fresh. Fifth base really fast here for Classic as well. Oh, this is a cool style, but Maru, he's been able to muster an army. +1 infantry weapons is done. Concussive, stim, combat shields, all researched. So Maru has been lining up for this timing for quite a while. And those Ravens very high on energy. Interference Matrix could shut down those Colossi. Stim coming in. Colossi immediately disabled there in the front. Only 1 sentry, so just a couple of force fields going down. Every single Colossus is disabled. No shield battery here at the third base. Maru, he's trying to stim forward and snipe the Colossi. Hasn't been able to get them. Finally, they can attack again. Reinforcing Zealots coming through, and I think Classic might barely just be able to survive.
But with all 3 of the Colossi here, it's definitely possible. I thought he would have at least taken out one of them. He did a lot of damage, though. Keep in mind that it's going to be pretty easy for Maru to remake this. Granted, most of what Protoss lost was the kind of tier 1 ground army, right? So that was a wild attack. Good hold there by Classic.
Yeah, that was scary with no shield battery there at the third base. I thought for sure
I thought he was going to lose all of the Colossi, and then it was going to be a wash, right?
Yeah.
Whether Terran kills him there or in 2 minutes, it doesn't matter. The game's basically over.
Well, the gateway counts, or not the gateway unit counts and the bio count gets reset a little bit right there for both players, but Maru was able to retain, I think, pretty much all of his medevacs. So both armies should be able to scale quite well, but Classic now coming in for a drop here in the main base and a drop in the third of Classics. Oh, this game is getting really crazy tasteless. There's action everywhere on the map. Widowmine drop here at the 4th. This Nexus will go down in the natural as Classic's army is committing.
The question is, how much does Maru have back at home? Can he barely hold this off? There's more that can be lost here for Classic, but I guess that's only true for expansions. If he goes for the infrastructure, it's a different story. This forces a recall back here. He picks up. He's going to fly right out of there. Now, Classic is still on 4 bases. He was actually on 5 earlier before that Nexus was killed. So, I mean, economically, we have 2 players in very different places.
Yeah, that 5th base is kind of a saving grace here.
Oh!
It's so cool, actually.
Yeah.
I love the way that looks. And Maru, you see on the minimap, he instantly scans to see if the 5th base is taken, and he spots that there at the 1 o'clock position. So both players taking a bit of a beating. Maru, I think, lost, what, 15, 17 SCVs during that attack. Classic lost an expansion, but things are still oddly even after all is said and done. 3 Colossi on the field and a ton of upgraded Zealots here for Classic. 8 starport units on the map here for Maru as well. And I think Classic, for at least the next couple of minutes, is going to have the better economy because he has that 5th base. So this might lead to him going for yet another timing attack. Keep in mind, if he reproduces that Warp Prism with Warp Prism speed, he can get across the map in a hurry to reinforce.
Yeah, Maru's still sustaining on these 3 bases, but with a 5, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 base economy inbound here for Classic. I mean, it's getting really scary. Maru down on supply, basically pinned to the corner. Kind of a role reversal here from game 1.
Yeah, looks like Classic is getting ready to mount an attack. Not a lot of splash damage here for Maru, only 4 Widow Mines. Keep in mind, their splash damage not quite as impressive as it used to be pre-patch. And actually, with good observer placement, 2 of them are going to get taken down, and now Classic is engaging here on the bio. SCV is getting pulled from the 3rd base. Now the Vikings in a great position there on the left side. We'll be able to focus down the Colossi, but they're already doing a ton of damage on the bio.
Oh my god.
But there is just so much here for Maru. He had a great arc right there at the 3rd base.
He might have actually hid those Vikings in the corner for a little bit.
The thing is, so many SCVs got taken down.
True.
I think Classic, with his Remax here on a soon-to-be 6-base economy, might just be able to outpace Maru. Yes, the ground army here for Maru is very impressive, but a couple of Warpins here for Classic could equalize in a hurry.
He needs the counterpunch right now. Maru's moving across the map, and Classic, this is a very smart move. It's just going to go right around him. Yeah. He's going to get this Warpin in the main.
The mineral income right now for Maru is 600 a minute. He doesn't have the reinforcements. He has to either go for the base trade or defend back at home, and it's going to be the base trade, but Classic has so many bases on the map right now. Is he going to build enough army in time to deal with the ground force that Maru currently has?
He might have to lift off.
He has to. He's pulling all his SCVs.
This is an insane base trade. Now, supplies are very even right now, but keep in mind, well, even army-wise, I should say, there's a lot of workers, but workers aren't going to do that much here. And he's going to go into the main and go for infrastructure. Are we going to have a warp in here? He's already unpowered half the base.
Classic has been able to warp in a lot of Stalkers and Zealots during all this time. He's losing all of his production now, +3, and
the thing
armor
is,
and attack will be denied.
I think that fundamentally, the army here is weaker for Classic. You know, well, I guess the medevacs are actually almost empty.
The army is weaker for Classic, but he has all these bases. He can build a forge, he can build a cybernetics core, and he can just defend a Nexus fully saturated with cannons, with shield batteries, if it comes to that. And Maru can't mind. He's about to lose his last command center.
Yeah, he should move that thing down.
He has nothing in the corner, actually. He might just lose on structures. You can see in the top left. He has 4 barracks and a starport all flying. That's his entire base, basically.
The thing is, there's SCVs to block. The next bases, they're all, you just make a beeline up through the top. You're going to kill this all off. Notice that Maru's not stimming here. He realizes he needs to bank the energy.
Oh, he didn't kill all the infrastructure. Classic's going to get back online.
Wait, he's going back. He's going back.
Okay, that's a very smart move here from Maru. Almost even catching these gateway units.
Now, every Zealot is precious. Oh, he gets away. Unbelievable.
It's a crazy series.
Oh, wait, there's no scan.
Oh, yeah, there's no scans.
No scan.
He has EMP, so he can't reveal the DTs,
right.
That's the only detection that Maru has at his disposal right now. And Classic, unfortunately, he's supply blocked, so he can't actually get a warp in off of these gateways.
So there's not enough minerals to make a command center, by the way. There is enough to make a Nexus. Not that you need a Nexus right now, but just to give you guys some perspective about where we are at.
Maru cannot scale. This is what you see is what you get here with Maru.
Right.
Classic, if he could just hunker down at an expansion, you see him in the top right on the mini-map, he is building more production facilities. Again, if he can just defend with shield batteries, with cannons, defend an expansion with the army he has on the ground, he can win the game, but it seems like he's feeling pretty confident right now. I mean, he has that DT Shrine. If he warps in a good number of DTs, there might not be enough EMPs to reveal all of them.
Or you could space them out, send one DT and milk out an EMP.
How many ghosts do we have on the field? Only 3.
He's going to get another Nexus.
I think Classic's got this, Tasteless.
I think he does, but let's not call it yet. I mean, there's always a shot, right? The medevacs have a lot more energy in them now.
He can use the Warp Prism to repower these gateways, too.
Protoss is supply blocked, by the way, just now. He's got the 1 DT. Maru's not flinching. So there's 3 DTs, I believe.
5 probes working on the structures in the bottom. More probes working in.
He can't make more DTs until he loses supply.
Right.
There should be enough EMPs to get each DT.
He's going to lose all his
production. He's going to move
on the right side. Okay, Classic engaging here on the ByuN army. Blink for it. He's going for the Ghost. He focuses them down there with the Stalkers.
He gets 1 DT.
More DTs are warping in as well as Zealots. And I think Classic is going to take us to a Game 3 here, defeating Maru. Wow, what an exciting series this has been.
Dude, today is so good. Oh, my God.
That game was awesome.
That was a great game. I love the warping with the Zealots at the end.
Yeah.
As he loses that supply, he just fills it right back in. All you got to do is get that surface area. He got it.
And Classic with just the killer instinct there, too. He knows after that push that Maru is basically in an all-in position. He had like 25 SCVs left over. Maru pulls the boys. Classic doesn't flinch, doesn't blink an eye, takes some other expansions on the other side of the map, and just goes straight for the base trade, which as a Protoss player is a really scary thing to do more often than not, but I mean, he played that so well. Even using a Warp Prism to power gateways in the main base off camera.
Yeah.
And warp in additional units there.
It was sick, man. We're going to Ghost River here for game number 3. I don't know how we could top game 1 and game 2, but let's keep our fingers crossed, man. That was something else.
I'm gonna go to one of the new maps. First time we're seeing this map here in the GSL.
Our first cast on Ghost River, guys. Let's get into it and decide who wins here with Maru versus Classic. Okay, so it's, Classic in the top right, Maru in the top left.
I must say, I really like what we're seeing from Classic this season.
Dude, these games have been so fun, honestly. Like, I'm kind of blown away. I'm really impressed with Classic's decision-making back there.
It was good. That's like peak form Classic in terms of decision-making. I don't know what he could have done better.
Classic's checking for proxies. This is a problem whenever you have a brand new map. It's like, okay, what is the bullshit they're going to try to me in this map? I don't know this map perfectly yet. Is there some sneaky stuff you can do?
You know, oftentimes when we have a fresh map pool come in and a fresh patch, or even just one of those things, Protoss usually has a little bit of a power spike because there's a little bit of trickery you can do. I think Protoss is the race that excels the most when the meta is the least figured out.
Right. Yeah, I think that's fair.
So we'll see if Classic continues to go with some kind of out-of-the-box approaches. We saw two very different styles there in Game 1 and Game 2, both working off of the Robo and the Starport as opposed to Twilight Council play, which is a lot of fun, really. And this map right here, Ghost River, it's quite good for Blink Stalkers in general. I mean, it's as far as the current map pool goes, there's a lot of surface area there in the main base, but given the styles that we've seen from Classic so far this series, I'm not sure if that's something that really fits well with his approach to this matchup currently. It seems like he kind of prefers the more tech-heavy, expansion-heavy play as opposed to something more akin to a 4-gate Blink style, but that makes me worried because if you actually look at the rush distance from natural to natural here on Ghost River, it's not that far, really. It's kind of like Equilibrium lost a third of the total map size in terms of pushing across the map, right? It's quite close. And so I like Classic opting for the Sentry first here because with that hallucination, he can see exactly what Maru is going for. If it is going to be a 2-base push, what kind of 2-base push is going to be, so Classic can navigate his army composition or his tech or his base layout appropriately. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Maru get a lot more aggressive here as opposed to the fast third command center play that we've seen in Game 1 and Game 2.
Okay, so in this game, it's going to be Robo. We had Stargate in the previous games. You are pretty close to each other. You know, sharing the top of the map, you can create a pathway to get over there. This is a map where basically both players will be descending down the map in expansions, which can make for a different feel because we don't have players in diagonal corners from each other.
I feel like we don't actually have that many maps that play out quite like that in terms of expansion pattern.
This is why I'm happy that we have these new maps and we also have the new features that can be added on other maps.
Right.
Is that the big advantage we have in RTS is maps. I can't believe this got it.
Not even going to pull a probe from the gas? There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You have the range now.
Flick it down with the probe.
It's
yeah,
2
got the range.
Well, Maru gets the full scout, and a Hellion is cheaper than a scan compared to a mule, so.
Yeah. No probe flick there. Old habits die hard.
It will be the Stargate follow-up. So this is looking a bit more similar to what we saw from Classic in Game 1. That was Robo and a Stargate. In Game 2, it was Stargate and Robo. But we will be seeing a Phoenix, not an Oracle, coming out here for Classic. Maru is going for a Widowmine drop with 6 Marines and a Liberator follow-up. So really harassment-focused. And the Starport, or Stargate, excuse me, here for Classic should be great about that. And man, this timing for the probe coming down is excellent for Classic. Instantly spots the drop right before it enters the main base. And Maru might not even get this pylon. We'll see. He's going to try and commit to it. Oh, but does Classic see it? He does.
Gets one.
Pylon does go down here in the main. Oh, he hallucinates his it. I love that. Yeah, just disable.
That was so sick.
Oh, that was some
dude,
really
for a second, I
nice
thought it was a mistake.
No, it's good.
Yeah, and then I saw him chuck it in there. I'm like, oh, you're like so smart.
Maru, by the way, was so quick with the unburrow on the Widowmine and putting it into the medevac.
Yeah.
I actually couldn't believe how fast that was. That was insane. I thought the Widowmine was guaranteed dead.
Yeah.
After that shot.
Same over here. Third command center is going to finish. The Nexus is already starting. And I mean, it's been kind of an interesting early game so far. We've got the 2 Phoenixes roaming. I don't think he's going to get a third. He's got to be careful. Maru has done, this used to be more popular a couple years ago, but just hiding the Widowmine just in the middle of the map like that.
I like this play here from Classic. Sentry first, something that we didn't see very often pre-patch because the Sentry light tag means that with perfect micro, the Reaper actually is a really, it's a pain in the ass if you only have the Sentry because you can just kite that thing around. But now that it doesn't take any bonus damage from the Reaper, it's a lot more reliable there in the early game. So Classic goes into the early Phoenix Scout and then goes into the Starport play like this one, gets 2 Phoenixes out, sees the third command center, and that gives him the confidence to go double forge, take the third, go for the Robotics Bay. We'll see now how he's able to deal with this. Widowmine drop coming into the natural expansion. Only 2 of them, so the Phoenix can lift both if he wants to. Uh-oh. Not the best hit. Only getting a couple of probes, but this Liberator of the main base already paying for itself. That's a lot of damage done.
Yeah. He went in for it anyways. He could actually shoot down that one Phoenix if he really wanted to.
Yeah, he could. That'd be a gamer play right there.
Yeah, that'd be a moment like, actually, this hits air. Watch this.
Call down a mule repair it. See it beat the other Phoenix too.
Thermal land's almost done. As that third expansion is going to land now. Stim has started. Maru really likes to get that stim a lot later.
Yeah, he's been playing a lot more tech heavy. 1-1-1, I think, every single game. It's a third command center here. So.
And I guess, delaying the stim for the bigger attack and just getting every other upgrade can get you into a better position than trying to get stim early and run out.
Yeah, and Cyclones, even though they're not quite as good as they used to be in this current patch, they're still very strong in the early game. They are very flexible, so a lot of variety in terms of opening you can do there with the 1-1-1 as Terran is. Big Barracks explosion on the left side of the map. Classic now taking his fourth base and throwing down some gateways of his own, so both players just kind of building up, and Game 3 here kind of mirroring Game 1 and Game 2 a little bit in terms of the overall shape. Not much of a deviation, a bit of a faster Templar Archives here for Classic this time. It seems like that's where he's really going to lean in terms of tech, as opposed to the Stargates that we saw in previous games.
Okay, we've got the small push coming out. This is going to be lined up just with stim. There's two Colossi here. Definitely a bad angle for Maru. He's going to have to pick up.
Cute micro.
Yeah. He's going to regroup. That would have been an anti-timing. Stim didn't quite finish, actually. So he had to pull away. He's going to pick up.
You know, it's the natural expansion. Oh, this could be a killer play, actually. Classic's army is about as far away as it could reasonably be.
I think he's afraid of the base at 3 o'clock, but actually he could just fly in here. Oh, wow, the tank could even hit from there? That's crazy to me.
The starport, and maybe the gas, barely. But already some damage going done. He's going to go for the robotics bay, but there's a little bit of a concern here for me because this army cannot escape with the 2 Phoenix. They will eventually be able to whittle away. Oh, feedback's even coming in. Some added damage on the medevacs. Maru's just skirting disaster right now with these low HP medevacs.
Thing is, he's killing a lot of probes.
Yeah,
that's 70 SCVs to 48 probes.
I feel like that was worth it.
So, I mean, yeah, I'll take that any day. Could he possibly? No, he won't get this unloaded. Oh, he will. He will, Tasteless. He gets that unloaded over there. Gets another probe kill. So right now, Classic is frantically chrono boosting out more probes.
Classic was very out of position for that attack. I mean, 20 probes in total going down. That is absolutely brutal here, as 2-2 is in production here for Classic, but even on 4 Nexus, it's going to be a couple of minutes before he's able to completely equalize on that worker count. He was 20-plus workers down. Actually, he's moving into the middle of the map. I think he is underestimating Maru's army.
Yeah, bad right click over there. Not being attentive to his army.
Luckily, Maru, I don't think, was expecting Classic to be out here in the middle of the map, and so he did lose a couple of bio units there as they got shaved away from the Sentry and the Colossi. Maru, though, throwing down a 4th command center. Ghost production is underway. More Vikings getting added into the mix. And once there's 8+ Vikings on the field here for Maru, I am very scared for Classic's army because now that his economy's been reset, he can't really go into Storm. Ghosts are entering the field. Archons are getting warped in instead of Psionic Storm. And it's one of those compositions that if you don't have the stalker count to really diffuse the Vikings, then the Colossi are on a timer in the fight. And the Terran bio can just kind of stim, kite back, and eventually survive, maybe with half HP, and just run over the Gateway army. And so unless Classic is able to start adding some much-needed nuance to his army, I'm really worried about him in this next engagement. Maru's force is looking very intimidating here in the center of the map.
Okay, he's going to snake down here through the middle. Scans coming down to try to figure out, okay, where exactly is the army going to be positioned? It's so important that Terran is ready to arc. Is he going to go all the way up there? Oh my God, why are we watching this? Go back, okay.
4-person entering the third base there for Maru as Vikings already get one of the Colossi down to about half HP. Zell's getting warped into the main base here, but Vikings will be able to deal with it. That will be the last warp in from this Prism. And Maru, a little bit annoying. He is max. He doesn't have as many units coming out of these barracks as he would like.
He actually has to make it walk all the way back home here. So pretty annoying, man. He's going to lose a lot of SCVs. Actually, I guess not as many as I thought, only 2.
But the main thing here for Classic is this is buying him a lot of time.
Right.
He added in the Fleet Beacon, the second Stargate. I think ideally you want to maybe make, I would hope, a couple of Tempest here to try and deal with the Viking threat as Classic, but we'll see what the choice is going to be out of those Stargates. The issue right now is he just simply just doesn't have the money. And so this is another move that's him just trying to buy time with all of these charge zealots on the left side as he expands to the bottom right. And I think Maru identifies this. He just sends a small force. He's like, I'm going to pull SCVs with this. But that's a lot of zealots, Tasteless. We'll see if that's actually enough.
So he's going to try to attack it over here. Now, right now, Maru is getting a whooping back at home, but does he have enough to possibly bust this down? We know that there's so much more sustain here for infantry. Dude, the Colossi are still doing a lot of work. They do eventually tear through. Dude, he's kept the Colossi alive for so long, but regardless, Maru just has so much here. And the problem for Classic right now is that, you know, with Medivacs and Stim, I mean, the damage is going to spike so hard here. I don't know if Maru can recover back at home. I would imagine he can make enough, but then again, there are so many zealots coming out here. He's going to go right for the infrastructure. He's going to try to unpower these gateways. I think that is an Artosis pylon over there in the middle of the base.
We have more zealots warping in here. The main base is Classic's best bet from this position is to try and force another base raid-esque situation, but I think that Maru is going to be able to stabilize 91 army supply to 17. Classic tapping out. Maru is going to take the first series.
It was great. I loved this series.
It was a lot of fun. I think Classic even might have had a chance in that previous game if he didn't lose the 20 probes and then didn't overcommit. I mean, that was so many zealots that he committed to the third base.
I think he needed
Maru.
He needed to go hard on the defense. When you're winning with those counterattacks, I mean, even just like a bunch of cannons. I mean, I know we don't see that really in the matchup, but like anything. You just need enough to soak so that the Colossi can keep firing.
Maru is going to advance to the winner's match, but that was a really close series there. Classic bringing in a couple of different styles.
This was a lot closer than I thought, too.
And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely a real treat to start off the this group here for GSL.
Maru and ByuN laughing about those games. They discussed it a little bit here on stage.
Yeah.
Always fun to see them interacting. Guys, we're going to go to a short break. When we get back, match 2, ByuN versus Hero. We'll see you in a minute.